Phosphorus is also present in egg and milk. Okay, covalent radii, or it can be an ionic compound. Ionic radii also will increase. All elements of the group 15 except nitrogen show allotropy. Nitrogen will form NH3, that is called as ammonia. Practically does not exhibit -3 oxidation state at all. Nitrogen can form a trihalide with only fluorine. Hello my dear students, I am Priyanka Rajaram from Vidyashram PU College, Temple of Excellence. Today I shall start with the new chapter, P block elements. So what are we exactly studying in this chapter? We are going to study about the P block elements. What are P block elements? These are the elements which are placed in group 13 to 18 of the periodic table. In P block elements, the last electron enters the P subshell, hence they are called as P block elements, and also they are called as representative elements as well. Now what are representative elements? They are the elements which is belonging to S and P block are called as representative elements, and the general electronic configuration of P block element is NS2 NP 1 to 6. That is NS2, N is the last valence shell, and NP 1 to 6, that means NP1 it can be, or NP2, or NP3, NP4, NP5, or it can be NP6. Based on what is the number of electrons in P subshell, they will be belonging to one particular group. Okay, so we'll see what exactly or where exactly they are placed in the periodic table. This is the periodic table. In the periodic table, towards the left you can see group 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 and 18 belongs to P block elements. If you observe in this particular block, you can see there are metals, there are semi-metals, or we can tell it as metalloids, and we have non-metals as well. So you are going to study about all of them which is belonging to this group. Okay, 13 and 14 group you have studied in your first PUC. 15, 16, 17 and 18, 4 groups you are going to study in your second PUC. First you will study each group's physical property and the chemical properties, that is general, which is for the full group. What happens as we move down the group? Then we are going to study under group 15 about nitrogen and its compounds, phosphorus and its compounds in detail. Under group 16, oxygen and its compounds, sulfur and its compounds in detail. Under group 17, you will be studying about chlorine and its compound. Also, you will be studying about interhalogen compounds. Only group 18, you have very little for your exam. Okay. Now, coming to the exam point of view, what exactly is the weightage of this chapter? That is, if you see, you have just one mark question, that is usually from group 18. I told you from group 18 you have very little syllabus, isn't it? That's why usually 1 mark question is asked from group 18. Whereas under part 3, that is 3 mark question. Why 3 mark question? Because this chapter belongs to inorganic chemistry, isn't it? Thus you have questions carrying 3 marks. So you can expect 3 questions, that is question number 20, 21 and 22. One question will be from group 15, one question will be from group 16 and one more question will be from group 17. Okay, so that's how the questions are going to come. The total weightage of this chapter, if you see, it is 10 marks. Also, there are some manufactures which you are studying, that is manufacture of ammonia, nitric acid and sulfuric acid. Out of these 3, one is a sure shot question which is going to come for your final exam. So concentrate as I am explaining one after the other. Okay. So we shall start with group 15 elements. Group 15 elements include nitrogen, phosphorus, arsenic, antimony and bismuth. Out of this, nitrogen and phosphorus are nonmetals, arsenic and antimony are metalloids, and bismuth is a metal. So what is it? We have a mixture of nonmetals, metalloids as well as metals in this particular group, and we call this group as nitrogen family, and their atomic numbers are as follows. Also their electronic configuration, you cannot write the electronic configuration like this if they are asking. This is the number of electrons in every shell we have shown. Okay. Electronic configuration with the inert gas core is something which you need to learn to write. Here if you see the first one, nitrogen, atomic number 7. So it is helium, atomic number is 2. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 electrons. So the electronic configuration is helium 2s2 2p3. So here if you see, there are 3 electrons in the p subshell, that is the second p subshell. Okay. Similarly, if you see phosphorus, electronic configuration is neon 3s2 3p3, arsenic, argon 3d10 4s2 4p3. Then you have antimony, that is krypton 4d10 5s2 5p3. Then you have last bismuth, that is xenon 4f14 5d10 6s2 6p3. So if you see the valence shell electronic configuration, what is it? If I have to write it general electronic configuration, it is ns2 np3. Correct, no? ns2 np3. So it is 2s2 2p3 for the nitrogen. Then for phosphorus it is 3s2 3p3. Then arsenic it is 4s2 4p3. Then comes antimony, that is 5s2 and 5p3, and then bismuth 6s2 6p3. So the general electronic configuration of the valence shell, we can write it as ns2 np3. So how many valence electrons are there? That is, totally we have 5 valence electrons, 2 from s shell and 2 from p subshell, isn't it? So it is 3 plus 2, 5 valence electrons are there in all the elements of the nitrogen family. So I hope you have understood about the electronic configuration and the valence shell electrons. Next, what are we going to study? It's about the occurrence. Occurrence, nitrogen occupies 75% by mass and 78% by volume of atmosphere. That is, we know that nitrogen gas is the most abundant gas which is there, that is almost 78%. In the combined state it is found as nitrates, proteins, amino acids, etc. That is in the combined state, and we have studied about proteins, amino acids in biomolecules chapter, isn't it? Next, phosphorus does not occur in free state. About 60% of bones and teeth have calcium phosphate or calcium phosphate with calcium fluoride. Okay. So this is a 1 mark question which they can ask. Phosphorus is not in free state, but what is the percent of phosphorus which is present in bones and teeth, that is 60%, and how is it present as, or in which form the phosphorus is present in teeth and bones? Then you have to know to write the formulas. Okay. Next, it occurs in the form of minerals as fluorapatite, that is Ca9PO4 6Ca F2. Phosphorus is also present in egg and milk. Okay. Next, coming to arsenic, antimony and bismuth are not abundant. They occur as sulfides or oxides. So abundant, what we have? Nitrogen, then comes phosphorus, but then arsenic, antimony and bismuth, it is only found as sulfides and oxides. They are not abundant in nature. Okay, that's about the occurrence. Next we are going to the general properties. General properties you will be studying for every group. Which are the general properties which you will have to study? You will be learning about the atomic radii or the covalent radii or ionic radii or the atomic size, I can tell. Then you will be learning about ionization enthalpy or ionization energy, then about electronegativity, and if there are any allotropic forms, then you will be studying about the allotropic forms as well. Then you will be studying about the oxidation state, then we will go into the chemical properties. So under general properties, first we will see about atomic and ionic radii. So covalent and ionic radii increases down the group. This is general for every group in the periodic table. What happens? As we come down the group, the atomic size increases, correct? So this is general what you need to remember. When atomic size increases, covalent radii or it can be an ionic compound, ionic radii also will increase. That is, I am talking about only down the group because we are studying group by group. I am not talking along the period here at all. Okay, it's always down the group which I am talking. Here and there when we are comparing it with the neighboring group, I will tell you all how you need to remember. Okay, next there is appreciable increase in covalent radii from nitrogen to phosphorus. So what are the elements we have? We have nitrogen, phosphorus. So these are the elements which we have. So from nitrogen to phosphorus, there is an increase in covalent radii, but after phosphorus, that is from arsenic, antimony and bismuth, if you take, there is increase in the radius, but the increase is small, that's all. Okay, so what is happening from nitrogen to phosphorus? There is a large increase in the covalent radii or the ionic radii. Okay, after that there is increase in the covalent radii, but it is not very high. The difference is not too much. Okay, that's about the atomic or the covalent radii. Next is ionization enthalpy. Now what happens if the size increases? The atom is becoming bigger. So it is easy to remove the electrons, isn't it? Because it is weakly attracted towards the nucleus. Yes or no? So what happens? Ionization enthalpy decreases as we come down the group. Now if I compare, this is group 15, okay, I have group 14 and then I have group 16. So if I compare these three group elements now, and in group 15 what I have nitrogen, phosphorus, arsenic, antimony and bismuth, correct? Now if we compare group 15 with group 14 for ionization enthalpy, now what is happening along the period? The ionization enthalpy is increasing. So obviously group 14 should have less ionization enthalpy compared to group 15, correct? So group 15 elements have higher ionization enthalpy than group 14 elements due to the smaller size, because this is size is smaller compared to group 14. So ionization enthalpy will be less in group 14, in group 15 it will be more. Now if I compare group 15 and group 16, then group 15 has higher ionization enthalpy than that of group 16. Now how is that, ma'am? That is because in group 15 we have half filled p orbitals. Now how is it half filled p orbitals? I told you all what is the valence shell electronic configuration. It is ns2 np3. So in the p shell, if you see 1 2 3, they all are having half filled p orbitals, and when any atom has got half filled p orbitals, it is extra stable. So do you think you can remove the electrons very easily? No. That is the reason group 15 actually should have had less ionization enthalpy compared to group 16. But because of half-filled orbitals, group 15 has higher ionization enthalpy than that of group 16. Here, everywhere there is an exception. That is, you all are studying nitrogen, here you have oxygen actually. So, nitrogen has got higher ionization enthalpy than that of oxygen. Why? Give reason. In first year you all have studied, isn't it? That is because nitrogen has got half-filled p orbitals, thus it is difficult to remove the electrons due to its extra stability. Thus, group 15 has got higher ionization enthalpy than that of group 16. So, I hope you have understood this. It's a really very important concept or an exception which you need to remember. Okay. Next, we will go to allotropy. All elements of the group 15 except nitrogen show allotropy. So, when we are going into detail of the elements, then we will learn about the allotropic forms. Only nitrogen will not show allotropic forms, but it will show isotopes. Okay. Next is catenation. Nitrogen shows catenation up to certain extent, but phosphorus is the one which shows maximum catenation property. What is catenation? It's the ability of an atom to bond among themselves. That is, phosphorus can form a bond again with one more phosphorus or one more phosphorus. Highest catenation ability is for carbon in the entire periodic table if you take, because they can form bond with themselves. Carbon-carbon bond, we have so many compounds, isn't it? But in group 15, who has got catenation ability or maximum extent of catenation is shown by phosphorus. Okay, nitrogen up to a certain extent it can show. The tendency of catenation decreases down the group. So, as we come down the group, catenation tendency decreases. Okay. Next property is electronegativity. So, what happens to electronegativity? Electronegativity as we come down the group decreases. Why? Because the atomic size is increasing. What is electronegativity? It is the tendency to pull the shared pair of electron towards itself, isn't it? So, when we come down the group, the size is bigger, atomic size becomes bigger. So, can it actually pull the electron of the neighboring atom or from the bond? No, it becomes difficult, isn't it? Because the size is big and the nucleus is far from the valence shell if you see. That is the reason as we come down the group, electronegativity also will decrease. So, what have you studied? You studied about atomic radii or the covalent radii. Then you studied about the ionization enthalpy, allotropy, catenation and electronegativity. Next, we are going into the trends in physical property. So, what is the trend which you are seeing in the physical properties? First one is nitrogen. If you see, only nitrogen is a gas, okay, at room temperature, while all the elements are solids. As we go down the group, metallic character is going on increasing, isn't it? First two elements, nitrogen and phosphorus, are non-metals. Then we have two elements, that is arsenic and antimony are metalloids, but bismuth is a metal. So, what is happening as we come down the group? The metallic character is increasing, okay. Density increases down the group. Of course, metals are more denser, isn't it? So, density increases down the group. The boiling point increases down the group, but the melting point increases up to arsenic and then further decreases. So, what is happening? As we come down the group, that is, we have nitrogen, phosphorus, antimony and bismuth we have. So, as we come down the group, boiling point increases, but melting point will increase up to arsenic. Up to arsenic, melting point will increase, but after that melting point is decreasing. Okay. So, these are the trends in physical properties which we observe. Next, we are studying about the oxidation state. Next, we have oxidation state. Now, what is the common oxidation state of this particular group? It is -3, +3 and +5. Now we know that the valence shell electronic configuration is ns2 np3, correct? So how many valence shell electrons are there? 3 plus 2, 5. So it can show +5 oxidation state, or only if the electrons of the p shell are involved, then it can show +3 oxidation state, or if the element is more electronegative, that is it has the tendency to pull the electron towards itself, just like nitrogen, then it can also show -3 oxidation state. Okay, so this is the common oxidation state shown by this particular group. But what is the trend which we have observed? The stability of +5 oxidation state decreases as we come down the group, and +3 oxidation state stability increases as we come down the group. So what happens? Why this tendency or why this trend is observed? Now what happens is, as we come down the group, these electrons, the electrons in the s orbital is becoming inert. Inert means they do not want to take part in bond formation. Okay, they don't want to take part in any bond formation. Thus these two electrons become inert, and what happens is, as we come down the group, if these two are not involved in bond formation, then what will be the oxidation state? It should be +3 only, because we have only 3 electrons, isn't it? So +3 oxidation state stability will increase as we come down the group, and +5 oxidation state decreases as we come down the group. Okay, and what is this called as? That is the electrons becoming inert. It's called as inert pair effect. That means this pair of electron has become inert and it is not involved in any bond formation. Okay, that's why it's called as inert pair effect. So give reason questions they can ask. As we come down the group, why +5 oxidation state stability decreases and only +3 oxidation state stability increases? That is due to inert pair effect. Okay, you need to remember this word. Next is, bismuth practically does not exhibit -3 oxidation state at all, because electronegativity is very low for bismuth. So as the electronegativity is decreasing when we come down the group, the -3 oxidation state stability also decreases. Okay. Next, in case of nitrogen, all the oxidation state from +1 to +4 is possible. It will not show +5 oxidation state. Nitrogen cannot show +5 oxidation state because it is not having d orbitals. Why? Electronic configuration of nitrogen is 1s2, 2s2, 2p3. Do we have any d orbitals here? No, we do not have d orbital. Then how can it show +5 oxidation state? See how exactly it will show +5 oxidation state. In p orbital there are 3 electrons. In s orbital 2 are paired up. So one has to jump to the outermost electron so that 1 electron each will be present in each orbital, so that it can undergo hybridization or it is involved in any bond formation. Isn't it? But there is no d orbital at all. Where it will jump? It cannot go to the third shell. The difference is too much, isn't it? As the second shell does not have d orbital, so there is no outermost d orbital. N d orbital is not there, and thus nitrogen will not show +5 oxidation state. It will show +1 to +4. It can also show -3, but then it will not show +5 oxidation state. What is the reason? Because of the absence of Nd orbitals. Okay. Next, phosphorus gives the oxidation state from +1 to +4 in some oxo acids. Antimony and bismuth gives +3 oxidation state, forming M+3 ions. Okay. Next is about trends in chemical properties. So what are the trends in chemical properties? First we are going to study their reactivity towards the hydrogen. Group 15 elements with hydrogen, they react to form hydrides. What is it? Hydrides. That is, nitrogen will form NH3, that is called as ammonia. Phosphorus will form phosphine, which is PH3. Arsenic will form arsine. Stibium will form stibine, or antimony is called as stibium, isn't it? So stibium, when it forms hydride, we call it as stibine, and bismuth we call it as bismuthine, BiH3. Okay, so they are forming hydrides. Now what are its properties? See, we have to learn the trend of these hydrides. So thermal stability, decreasing order is there. That is, as we come down the group, that is from this end to this end, what is decreasing? Thermal stability decreases. So on heating, the most unstable one is bismuthine. Okay. Next is bond dissociation enthalpy. That also decreases as we come down the group. So what is it? It is bond dissociation enthalpy. Okay. Next, reducing character. Reducing character, you see, it is decreasing order, it is the other way around. These two are same. Reducing character, least is ammonia, highest is bismuthine. Okay, from bismuthine it is in the decreasing order. Okay, basic character, you can see ammonia is having the highest basic character. It can give a lone pair of electron, isn't it? They are basic characters. So ammonia, phosphine, then you have arsine, then you have stibine and bismuthine. So it is the same order as it is for thermal stability, that is the basic character. Okay. Next, boiling point. Here there is a small twist. You can see first bismuthine is having the highest boiling point, then it is stibine, but then it is ammonia. After ammonia you have arsine and then phosphine. Okay, this one is not having any other trends. It is a different trend. Why ammonia has got higher boiling point than phosphine and arsine? It is because of ability to form hydrogen bonding. That is, you can see ammonia molecule NH3. For example, there is one more NH3 molecule. Hydrogen and nitrogen of another molecule. There is formation of hydrogen bond, and when hydrogen bonds are formed, their boiling point will be very high, isn't it? Thus, ammonia has got higher boiling point than that of arsine and phosphine. Okay, so this is one exceptional case which you need to remember. All the others like thermal stability, bond dissociation enthalpy, basic character, as we come down the group, it is decreasing. Only reducing character is the other way around, that is we go from down to up. Okay, or I can tell as we come down the group, reducing character increases, I can tell. Okay. Next we have reactivity towards oxygen, that is nitrogen, phosphorus, arsenic, antimony and bismuth can form majorly two types of oxides, that is I can write it as E2O3 and E2O5. It can also form M2O4 kind of, M or E, it is the element, okay, or M is just the other letter which we used instead of writing the particular element from the group. Okay, so E2O3 or E2O5, or sometimes it can form even E2O4 kind of oxide. Now as we move down, that is as the oxidation number increases, their acidic nature also increases. That is, particularly if you take one after the other, as the oxidation state increases of that particular oxide, then even the acidic nature also increases. Now if you consider M2O3 type of oxide, then here nitrogen and phosphorus, these are acidic. Okay, arsenic and antimony are amphoteric, and this is basic. Okay, so we have acidic oxides, we have amphoteric. Amphoteric means they act like acids or it can act as a bases. Okay, so they are amphoteric oxides, and bismuth oxide is the one which is acidic oxides. Okay, so I hope you have understood about reactivity towards oxygen. Next is reactivity towards halogen. Now what exactly they will form? They form two types of halides, that is EX3 and EX5. X are halogen. X, when we write, it is usually halogen. Which are the halogens we have? We have fluorine, chlorine, bromine and iodine, isn't it? So it can form two types of halides, that is EX3 or EX5. Okay. Nitrogen does not form pentahalide. Nitrogen cannot form a pentahalide. This is not existing. It cannot form a pentahalide because of absence of d orbitals. It cannot show +5 oxidation state. That is the reason it will not form pentahalides. Okay. Pentahalides are more covalent than trihalides. It is having more covalent nature. Pentahalides are more covalent nature compared to trihalides. In case of nitrogen, only NF3 is known to be stable. That is, nitrogen can form a trihalide with only fluorine. The others, that is, if it is forming a trihalide with chlorine or bromine or iodine, they are highly unstable. Only the one with fluorine is most stable. Last one is trihalides except BiF3 are predominantly covalent in nature. So most of them are covalent in nature. Okay. So that's about reactivity towards halogen. Next is reactivity towards metal. All the elements react with metals to form a binary compound exhibiting -3 oxidation state. We know that metals show plus oxidation state, that is, they have a tendency to form cation. So the other element, the group 15 element, what is it reacting with? They show -3 oxidation state. For example, you have calcium nitride, calcium phosphide, sodium arsenide, then you have zinc antimonide, or it can form magnesium bismuthide. Okay, so you can see here bismuth, antimony, arsenic, phosphorus as well as nitrogen, all are showing which oxidation state? They will show -3 oxidation state because metals show plus oxidation state. Okay, so that's about reactivity towards metals. Next class we will be learning about anomalous properties of nitrogen. Then we will go into the details of nitrogen, that is, we will study about its physical state and chemical properties, and also we will be studying about manufacture of ammonia by Haber's process, which is a very important question which can be asked for your exam. Okay, so I hope you have understood today's class. Thank you, my dear children. Stay focused, stay tuned, see you.